Good morning. Today is December 8th, 2021. This is the monthly meeting of the Council on Aging Board with Director Holly Looks. There's some preliminary matters to be addressed to before we begin the meeting. This is an important notice pursuant to Senate Bill 2475, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th of 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 38, number 18. This meeting of the Council on Aging Board will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. All meetings and hearings listed on the agenda will also be done through remote participation. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website, fishmore.gov/coronavirus. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can this is kind of strange, can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. To listen to this meeting, dial 1-302-307-3843 and enter the following PIN 128-098-211 and a pound sign. Please mute your device. Meeting is now called to order. As required, I will now take a roll call vote of the members of the board. Louise Russell.
Here.
Betsy Zwick.
Present.
Judy Goodstein.
Here.
What happened to Jean Campaniello?
Here.
Do we have any other board members present?
I'm here, Virginia Leonard.
Oh, Virginia Leonard, you are the, are you
I'm the
R?
V. I'm the, well.
Oh, that's the V. Okay, Virginia Leonard.
Here.
The meeting is now called to order. But before I begin the formal part of the meeting, I want to speak of a few things that we all need to be aware of. One, please be aware that this is an open meeting and that everything that you say is being recorded. So be careful in your choice of words because of the impact they may have. Please stay on topic. Digressions and long anecdotes are usually not very beneficial. And if you wish to speak, please raise your hand and wait for the chair to recognize you. With that, we can go on to the first item on the agenda. That is to review and accept the minutes for the 2021 meeting, the November 2021 meeting. Does anyone have any comments on the meeting, on the minutes? Well, if there are no comments, it's just a quick question though, Betsy. I don't know if this is the case for everyone, or maybe just me. I could not get to the second page with your signature on it. Is it missing or?
I'm pretty sure I sent
Did you
the whole
send it out?
I'm pretty sure I sent the whole document.
I had no trouble with it.
No, the first page is, oh, no, you're right, it's back. The first time I looked at it, I could not get to the second sheet with the signature. So in that case, will someone please propose, Betsy, Louise?
I move that we accept the minutes of November 17th.
Anyone to second it? Seconded by Jean Campaniello.
I second the motion.
Good. I'm going to take a roll call vote on this. Louise?
Here. I'm here. Yes.
Betsy?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Motion is carried. We can now move on to the second item, which is the financial reports. Now we can get to see what Christine has to say.
Okay, so if everybody looks at the budget sheet that was attached to the email, just going down the list like always, in our formula grant, we currently have about $70,136.44. As a reminder, this is just an estimate until we are actually awarded the funds. Our DOT grant has $3,504.48. The shared winter streets grant has $5,019.42. The taxi livery grant has $10,281.09. The gift fund has $22,723.64. The revolving account has $29,949.24. And our general fund has $20,615.99. Now, does anybody have a specific question about any of the accounts?
Apparently not. Move on.
Louise?
I don't have about the amounts. I had some questions on some of the areas. Let me find one second.
I have a general question. I do not understand why certain things are being flagged in red. Does that mean it's a deficit? Does that mean that it doesn't look like it's really a deficit? You got, like, if you take a look at the very first one, the operating expenses, your starting balance was 20,000 something, and then you had $216 in expenses. But then I don't understand that the thing in red. That merely means that there's an expense?
Yeah, it just means that we spent more out of the account than we took in this month. So that's typically the case for most of the accounts, like the operating expenses, we never put into it. That gets distributed at the beginning of the year, and then we only take out of it. So that's just what the red means. I can take that out from now on if it's confusing.
Because I haven't seen that. Typically, when you have something like that, you would be the difference of what we have left in the account. And I don't think that should be in red. But I don't know. I'm not an accountant. What is
I can
customary?
take it out.
Louise?
Yes, I found what I had marked on. The shared winter streets grant, it has remained the same. Is that over now? Have we used all of it?
Pretty much, yeah. So we had left, or the money that was remaining was left for payroll to install the benches. But after discussions with facilities and kind of coordinating that effort, it was decided to get a third party to install the benches. So Leone's Landscaping installed the benches around town. So that's where this kind of not surplus, but leftover money came from. So I don't remember exactly when the money needs to be returned that's not used. But we just have it here in case. I think there's a few other benches if for some reason we decided they needed to go somewhere else. We have a little bit more money for the installation, at least until it needs to be returned.
Just
Does
like,
it- Yeah, the figures you have here, it says, the current balance is 5,000 something or other,
2019.
Yeah, so there was no change this month. We didn't spend anything out of that grant fund.
but when's the deadline for the grant?
Holly?
so I believe it's by February. So the high school has 10 benches that still haven't been constructed yet because they're working on I believe it's a memorial field up at the high school. So the funds that we were expecting to put into those benches to be done didn't happen. So I'm going to reach out to Keith Baldinger just to see how he wants to move forward. And I'll check with the rest of the people that are running that particular grant to see if we can, if the funds aren't going to be used for the rest of the benches, if we can use them perhaps for more of our vests and things like that, and maybe some more salt. So Stay tuned for January.
But February is the deadline.
I believe it's February, yes.
February. That's what I wasn't sure, right? What the deadline for the grant was.
Yep.
And of course, we always have the gift fund. And there's not a whole lot here. A lot of little things that, candy canes and things like that. I know me personally, if I had a better idea of what was been going on at the senior center and how these things are being used, but just to see the expenses here and to kind of correlate it with where they are being used and what they're being used for and that kind of thing, it's a little difficult when you read just basic figures to put it all into context of the actual application of these things and for what purpose are they used and how we benefit from the cost. So I don't know how that we can go about doing that, but as I said, when I read through all these expenses, it gets very confusing to me to try to put it in some kind of order or context, I guess.
So if I might, it looks as though Shashi might have disconnected himself, but hold on 1 second. I'm just trying to figure this through. So just to answer your question, Louise, back in November, and I believe maybe even October, we mentioned that we were thinking about doing the holiday light tours. Last year we had done the gifts for seniors where we purchased some items. So basically like those little candy canes and things like this. So I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I'll just touch upon like one part. So last night, myself and Cynthia were here because we offered our first holiday light tour using our COA vans. We had, last night we had 7 people come. They came from the Housing Authority. And so when they came here, they received a little treat bag that they were able to go home with, and it had, a couple of crackers, and it did have, like for instance, our Shrewsbury Council on Aging stickers. It did have some candy canes, just to kind of try to make the experience a little brighter. Well, it ended up being even more special than we could have even imagined because, so we have the holiday wreaths that we purchased for gifts. So they each received a wreath. They also received a blanket from the blanket drive. They also each received a gift card that was donated. We received over 120 blankets, just so everybody knows. We received over $900 in gift cards that were donated from people from the community. And we also supplied them with some refreshments from Dunkin' Donuts. That was a little bit more expensive than I would have liked, so we're gonna look at it different for tomorrow night. But I can tell you that the most special moment of the evening was when one of the attendees' eyes actually started to water because she mentioned that she didn't think her Christmas was going to be as special as last evening was. So, all of these, so even that is part of our outreach program. So those little incidentals that just add to the little things that we're doing made all the difference in the world to somebody. And I would invite any one of the board members to come to our, come and greet everybody that comes to tomorrow night's tour or next Tuesday and Thursday's tour, just to meet people because they come here, they come with a cocoa. They come and get their treats. They grab the gifts that they didn't even know that they were getting. So it really just provided and made for a really special evening. I see Betsy's hand.
And that was one
Yeah.
of
Sorry.
Louise, just a minute.
Holly.
I think Betsy was on first.
Yeah. Holly, just a quick question. What time tomorrow night?
So they get here around, so tomorrow night is another night with the Housing Authority. So they'll probably be here between 6:15 and 6:20. So then they come off the van, they come through the lobby where we have the music going. They all get to sit, and like I said, they get to have their treats, and they receive the gifts that they weren't expecting. And then they go off, and last night they came back around 9 o'clock. So they were out watching the lights for the evening. And Beth, our nutrition manager, was on there, and she said it was absolutely amazing.
I can't promise to be there at 9 o'clock, but I'll certainly try and be there at 6:15, and I hope other of my colleagues here on the board will join me.
Yep. So I'll be here, and I also, right before they leave, I excused myself just to because it's been a long day. But Cynthia stays for the duration.
Louise, you had a comment?
Yeah, that was my question, that any of these activities that the board can take part in, if we have enough advance notice. I'm not sure about tomorrow night. Tomorrow's a busy day and I'll have to wait and see because I didn't know ahead of time. I think if you could give us a heads up on these activities that the board could be a part of, I think it would help us a lot in understanding these things.
I would just like to remind you that I have been sending the newsletters to everybody prior to them going to mail. I'm not sure, Louise, maybe you just overlooked it, but they all are listed in the newsletters, which I've been sharing with you before those even go public. The only difference is the newsletters don't have the ads included because the ads come after I actually send it to print. So just again, to reiterate, we do have one tomorrow night and next Tuesday, Thursday, the same evening.
Jean had a question?
Well, I think Holly just answered it. It's Tuesday, Thursday at the same time next week.
It is. So this week was for the Housing Authority residents, and next week it's for the general public.
Okay. I'm not able to be there tomorrow night, but I will certainly try to get there next week.
Fantastic.
I also had another question just for my own benefit, an explanation of what this charge is on the let me just reach it here. On the formula grant, there is an annual fee of $990 for My Senior Center. What does that entail?
So My Senior Center is our database. So that's where we have all of the seniors' information logged. We use it for outreach purposes where we can put services. So Jean, for example, if you were to call the Senior Center and ask a question about our Meals on Wheels program, we log it into this program. This is also that little scan card that you have when you check in at the kiosk. That's the My Senior Center kiosk. So that's where we schedule all of our events. We take attendance. We have, like I said, all of the seniors' information. Honestly, I don't think we could run the Senior Center without it.
Did that go out for bid? Because that's a significant amount on a monthly basis.
So this is a program that the Senior Center's had for quite a long time, over 10 years, I believe. So it was a significant fee up front, but that's the only fee that we pay throughout the year from going forward. It's just the $990.
Before we get, I think we are getting sidetracked a little bit here, but to join in the confusion here, we got My Senior Center a while back. Right now, it's only being used, the subscription. The last time I heard, we were only using it to collect data, but I think it's got other capabilities that need to be looked into. And I think the previous director did not do much about it. Do you have any updates on that, Holly? I think you had your hand up before.
Yep. So many of the other council on aging departments throughout Massachusetts, throughout most of New England, I think, as well as senior centers, they use this software system because, just as Shashi and Christine mentioned, it does collect stats. And the stats that it collects, I'm actually in the process right now of filling out the fiscal year 21 information for the Executive Office of Elder Affairs, where we get our formula grant from. So what's fantastic about the software system is not only does it keep data on the people that come in and how many people, join our activities, but it also allows me to actually just go right into statistics, print what I need, and I send it off to either EOBA or Kevin and Kristen. Christine, did you have something else you wanted to mention on that?
I just wanted to bring up a small thing, is that it is very important when you come into the Senior Center that you check in at the kiosk, and this goes for everybody. because of exactly what Holly mentioned. We use that data for grant funding. So without that information of who's attending, what they're attending, and how often they're coming, we couldn't get some of the grants that we've applied for. So it is very important to check in and use this system.
Betsy?
And my recollection, Holly, is that that data was really important in the development of the strategic plan. When you sent that out last year, it was filled with what I found fascinating data about demographics, about use, et cetera. And my guess is it came from that program.
That's exactly where it came from. I don't feel as though it was being utilized to the fullest capabilities prior to me coming here. But as Christine mentioned, we've really been, trying to hammer down on, making people understand the pros of the software. And I also want to mention that there have been times where people have fallen ill or there's been medical issues that have happened at the center, and we're able to take that person's scan card and look up their next of kin or emergency, or see if people have any medical things that we need to tell, like the EMTs when they show up. So there's a lot of information that it gives us as staff, and all of that is left confidential.
Excuse me, Renee, I know you raised your hand, but before we get into that, this business of an emergency card was brought up a long time ago. And as I recall, there was some concerns about privacy and people unwilling to share that kind of data. Do you have an update on that?
Yep. So it says it. So there was an incident where someone was concerned about the privacy and the information that was asked on the form. So on the form, it does say that it is not, the information is not mandatory. It's not required. People are not expected to fill out anything that they don't want to. The only thing that we really, really need outside of it is a person's address. Date of birth is a big one, because that helps us get the information of the demographic in which, are participating in different events. But it is not mandatory to fill out all of the other things. We suggest it just in case of an accident should happen. Like I said, it allows us to contact next of kin, but it's not required.
Renee?
Yes, hi. The software is really useful in outreach for my position, because it's almost like case management software, and that when people call in on specific issues that's noted, or when applications are done, if there's an incident, there's a little bit of history there that I can fall back on in order to help assess the needs of the person. So it's really very valuable. And, many times I talk to family members who call, who, want to request assistance for, their parent or a family member, a senior. And they're always happy to provide and want to provide their emergency contact information, so that we have that. It's just, very, it's very useful to my job. So just wanted to add that.
Holly, my only concern is that one of my concerns is that this data should be kept private and not made available to, let's say, like what Google does, and sell it to advertisers, somebody selling hearing aids, that kind of stuff. We want to keep this private. I see Christine shaking her head.
Yep. So only the staff is allowed to see any of the information that gets put into it. And I've even restricted some of the additional information to some of our part-time employees. So really it's myself, Christine, and Renee that have access to the entire, someone's entire folder.
One more question. Is this data being stored locally, or is it on a cloud somewhere?
It's on the software system that we're paying for, as Jean mentioned. She wanted to know, she asked, where is that fee going to? So, there's updates every year. So it's in the software. It's not in the cloud. It's not anywhere. It's actually in the software system.
I think we're digressing. I think Christine can go back to the financial reports.
Are
I
there
think
any-
Louise had a question. Unmute. You need to unmute.
I can't talk anyhow. On the taxi livery grant, I'm sorry, not a good morning. The difference between the two services, I noticed that the Safeway, what is Safeway? And then I know Yellow Cab, but the Safeway didn't get much business. What's the difference between them?
So the Safeway is the luxury transportation. So if somebody needs wheelchair, they're able to assist with wheelchairs.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Go ahead, Christine.
I was just going to say what Holly said. Any other questions about the detailed accounts? Okay, I think we can move on.
I think we're done with the financial reports and we can now move on to the director's report. Holly?
So
I think
actually,
the next item is Renee.
Yep. So I'm gonna let Renee just let you know what's going on, and then she's gonna turn it over to intern Lucas Kuhn.
All right.
Renee,
Good
you're
evening,
on.
everybody. Yes, thank you. So recently I've been working on my goals for 2023. And as part of working on my goals, I've actually been here for 5 months now. I've been assessing my outreach activities and the accomplishments that this position has had, and looking to build on them. So in addition to helping residents with daily service needs and supports such as referrals, to community partners, and providing help, application assistance for fuel assistance, nutrition, home repair, that sort of thing. I've been working on doing outreach through programming and bringing education and information to residents that they can use to improve their life through healthy aging. So some of the programs that I've been building on have been working with community partners. So, that's kind of integral to the job, building relationships with Elder Services, SYFS, and others in the community, and then bringing that information and those resources to the residents. And that includes not just working here at the senior center, but, reaching out off-site, doing hours at the library and programs at the housing authority, in the community center and that sort of thing. Also building on our intern program. So Lucas is going to speak a little bit to that. But it was initially envisioned that he was going to be here for a semester, and he's going to continue his practicum and his internship into the spring semester next year. And so he's helping out quite a lot with outreach, helping us with special projects and things like that. So we'll hope to continue with that. That's pretty much it. I'd like to introduce Lucas because we have a project that he's been working on. And it's something that the COA board will consider for approval if we decide to go forward with this program. So Lucas, if you'd like to take it away, or does anybody have any questions beforehand?
No questions? Sure.
You're muted.
Yep. Go ahead, Lucas. You can start.
Oh, okay.
What can you tell me a little bit more about this program you're referring to?
So it's called Yahoo. It's youth help, youth. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
let
yes,
let me bring up the presentation. So it's, let me see if I can get this. Okay, can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay, great. So it's called Yahoo, the program. It stands for Young Adults Helping Out Others. It's a program that Sterling had started, and they've had tremendous success with it. The program is centered around local students visiting seniors in the area and doing some spring and fall cleanup. As you can see, there's a link at the top right hand of the screen there if you guys would like to check out Sterling's efforts. So just some things to know. There will be 5 groups of 5, 2 adults in each group for a total of 25 participants, 15 students, and 10 adult supervisors. The goal is to promote youth and senior involvement in the community, educate children to the concept of volunteerism, commitment, community service, and social skills. The operating plan is to have adult supervision for children from grades 7 to 12, to go with the seniors' houses and others in need in the town to provide sweeping, raking, trash removal, just general spring cleanup tasks. So we'll have some registration forms, medical forms to fill out for the students and parents. And we will be seeking sponsors and donations initially to offset the costs of everything. The expectations will be at 12 to 20 hours for the spring and fall. Students can sign up we generally would like to create a website where students can go and sign up, and then we can assess who's would be available and then create schedules from there. We'll be asking for the registration forms and medical history, and any medications that need to be provided for the youth. Well, I mean, not anything serious, obviously, just, emergency, EpiPens, inhalers, things of that nature. We will be asking the youth to be punctual and prompt, no exceptions, because obviously we need to conduct this well. We also be wearing appropriate clothing, no sandals. We're going to have Yahoo t-shirts for the students and the supervision. Obviously, be courteous and polite. No tobacco products. For the supervision, we will not allow any youth to enter any structures on the work site at any time. We will provide phone numbers for emergencies and inclement weather. Volunteers will work with crew supervisors at all times. Supervisors will provide transport as needed and supervise all crews. No person under the age of 21 at any time will drive a crew or supervise a crew. There will be 2 supervisors assigned to each work crew. First aid kits will be available at every site. Volunteers will be providing scheduling of tasks, and at no time will these jobs include any dangerous machinery or equipment and ladders. So this is just a short list of, this is basically everything that we are going to need. Rakes, shovels, brooms, work gloves, bags for the leaves. We're going to get 45-gallon wheel trash cans to make it easier so we don't have to do the wheelbarrows, and tarps to handle the leaves. So this is the shed that we're proposing to use. The shed does need a foundation, so we will be partnering with the Shrewsbury DPW to get the foundation for this shed installed. And as I said, again, we will be looking for donations in the beginning to help offset the cost of everything initially. If anybody has any questions or comments, feel free.
I would, excuse me.
Can I ask a quick question?
Holly has a hand up.
Pardon?
Holly has a hand up first.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, I just wanted to add just a couple of things because I'm originally a Sterling resident, so I have a little outside information on this also. And one of the expectations also, just so you know, from when if a senior would sign up for this, it's not something where a senior can just sign up for it, it gets done, and then we never hear from anybody again. The seniors are expected to actually come outside, greet the students, when they come and do the work, to really make that involvement of, the communication and building that opportunity for intergenerational and, building relationships. One of the other things is that right now, Sterling's program, Yahoo program, does not involve anything in the winter. However, we do receive a lot of requests that come in from the winter, for shoveling and things like that. So once we get it kicked off, I think that's something simple that we definitely could incorporate. So Shashi, if you want to just take questions, Lucas and I would be happy to answer those.
I think Jean had a question. Jean, you're muted, I think.
No,
Jean,
not.
you're muted.
It was Virginia.
No, am I on okay?
Yes.
It involves the volunteers that will be supervising the students. Will we be conducting Corey checks on them?
So I'll answer that. So the adult supervisors will have required Corey checks. The students will not.
Right.
So Lucas mentioned with every group of children or youth group, there'll be at least two adult supervisors. So just in case, there should be an emergency and one adult supervisor has to take somebody somewhere, there's always another one there to kind of take over. And just so everybody knows, once this gets started, this is absolutely 100% volunteer run. This is not a Council on Aging run program. It's not a Parks and Recreation run program. It will be dependent completely on volunteers. If we don't have the volunteers, and really what we're trying to do is get, as Lucas mentioned, to have the high schoolers be responsible for keeping this up and going and finding those volunteers. So this isn't anything that, the only thing that would fall back on the COA would be, finding those seniors to be incorporated into this actual program. So eventually the goal is to be 100% volunteer run.
Virginia, did you have a question?
Well, no, I think part of it was answered already to who are the volunteer or who's the adults that are doing this. But I guess I'm a bit curious if this is a program to provide some assistance to seniors in the community. Why would this be an ongoing program that's separate from the senior center? Is this something that is considered in a program for the community? I mean, what umbrella is it falling under if it's going to be a self-supporting program, and why? What would be the impetus to keep it going?
So again, so for, let's just say, so for Yahoo and Sterling, originally it was it was completely taken off the ground from a couple that just put it all together. And
Okay.
then it became completely volunteer run. Then once it showed the progress that it made for Sterling, Parks and Recreation decided to help with the marketing and advertising and things like that. But again, this is 100% in Sterling volunteer run. So I would have the same expectations over here. Now I have a little bit more invested because I also want to make sure that our seniors are getting the needs, fulfilled from the Council on Aging department out of the senior center. So I would not have a problem myself putting a little bit of extra time or having our, when our interns come in, working under outreach, to have the intern keep assisting with those things.
Lucas had a question or answer?
No, I was waving at people leaving. Sorry.
All right, I have a question. Actually, Jean made a good point about Corey checks. However, on Holly said they're not being screened for Corey, but yet is the school's guidance department involved in screening these applicants to make sure that they are appropriate? I mean, they're whatever background that whatever the school's guidance office needs to tell us about the suitability of a particular student. Renee had a hand up first, Holly. Go ahead, Renee.
So, the way I see it, because this really works hand in hand with outreach, because I'm the one who gets the calls for assistance for people who, might need shoveling or cleanup because I get small home repair and things like that. So I see it as myself working hand in glove with the intern, whoever that person may be, who might be, kind of like guiding the program and ensuring that, that something is staying within the confines of what we're trying to do. So that's how I would see it.
But my question was, these students who are volunteering, they are going through some kind of a screening process, and are they, and who's going to do it?
So the way they do it in Sterling is people submit their applications, if you will. Not everybody will be chosen. So the one thing that I would like to change just in one of Lucas's slides was it said from grade 7 to 12. It's actually 11th and 12th. The Sterling Yahoo does allow younger students, but I believe that we had discussed keeping it to the older students that, have the better ability, I guess, to follow rules and things like that. So again, initially, just to get this program off the ground, it would be us that would be looking at the people that are coming through, and then it'd be strictly sent over all of those obligations would be sent over to the people that are running the program with assistance from outreach when needed, which I don't think would be a lot of work going forward, because again, this is completely volunteered run after it gets picked up.
I have another question. It has to do with personal injury laws as far as the students going out to work and going into somebody's yard or somebody's driveway. Has that been looked into, Lucas or Holly or anybody?
Yep. So prior to Renee and Lucas coming here, when Elizabeth Peterleitner was still working as our outreach coordinator, she had worked with the town to come up with waivers, and we did work with the town's insurance company to build those waivers so they would be acceptable for people that were part of this program. It's never allowed for anybody to enter anyone's home for any reasons. And that says it all in the waivers too. We haven't shared all of the paperwork yet because we just wanted to really kind of educate you on the program that we're looking to do. So there's a lot of steps to make it happen.
Jean had a question.
The cost, as indicated in the Yahoo presentation, which, by the way, you did a great job with, Lucas. I think it's a wonderful presentation. Where do we expect to pull that money from?
Again, that's a question for Holly.
Yep. So as Lucas mentioned, the first things that we would do is ask for donations to build the program initially, and whatever donations we got would help purchase the items that we need. And those donations we would be asking either from the general community or local places like Home Depot, Lowe's, ofSHINE, Mackey's, those kinds of places. And then any other funding that is left, we would ask to be able to use it from our gift fund. Now, one of the things that I do want people to keep in mind is one of the things that Christine and I have been kind of juggling around are the opportunities to keep receiving donations to our gift fund, so we can kind of keep it so it's at at a level that is comfortable, so in case an emergency should arise. So if what we're thinking of is something similar to what we did when we did Help Feed a Senior, and basically the support system would be help support the seniors. So that would involve, programs like this, or if we ever did something, where we supply for grab and go again. So we would be able to figure out, what section the donations came in and what section it would go into the gift fund of where it could be adequately spent.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Lucas. I think we're ready to move on to the next topic.
Sure. I
Uh, Before we go any further, Renee, do you have anything more to add?
I don't. Thank you so
I
much.
had a question. I don't think you saw me.
Judy, go ahead.
It's very quick question. If everything goes as planned, what is the timeline on this? When do you expect, well, just generally, what is the timeline on this?
So what I would like to ask from the board after hearing Lucas's presentation is between the time we meet again in January to come back with any specific questions that you might have. Or please feel free to send them to me individually, not in a group, so I can find the answers for people so we can go forward. We would love to have this start in the spring. So we're looking at, April or May, so we can start people, helping people. But we also don't want to get into something that we're not particularly ready for. So, but it does require some thoughts from the board, some questions from us, a little bit more discussion. So I'm going to keep this on the agenda for January. But we would, because it will take some outside planning to work with some of the schools. And when Lucas returns the first week of January, Lucas, I'll have you attend the next board meeting so we can answer any of those questions and then kind of move on from there. If this is a program that the board accepts, that's fantastic. If not, we can look to see how we can improve it or change it or perhaps table it for a better time.
If I think Lucas has something to say.
Sure. No, I just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity to allow me to present this. It was my first time doing anything like that, and I truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lucas. Looks good.
You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our schedule is the scheduling of the SHINE program, of the SHINE scheduling at the senior center. And I believe Veronica, Virginia, and someone else had a meeting about this. Would like to take the
Unfortunately, I realized when I was looking at the agenda, I had not reached out Renee, and I tried emailing her and realized I must have the wrong email address. So I'm going to just make an appointment for the two of us just to sit down, maybe next Monday or something, depending on your schedule, so we can start looking at this. The only good thing about, what's not the great thing right now is that certainly for the SHINE program, you know, December 7th was the deadline for, updating for if you're a senior for Medicare. So the next round of anything doesn't start till January. So it gives us a little time to be looking at this and how we can really evaluate what this program should look like, and what do we need to really adequately meet the needs of the community, because it's not just for people who already are in Medicare. It's really ramping up for individuals who are turning 65 and need to understand what are going to be the expectations for themselves and where should they be thinking about their healthcare needs.
Virginia, in other words, as far as scheduling, which is what I thought you were doing, coming up with a scheme for scheduling, all we know is what we're not getting anything more than what we have now.
Well, I
Not
think
in
the
the
thing,
immediate future.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'm also going to be the SHINE group hopefully tomorrow to start asking questions about what other kinds of support is there, because certainly we have one person who is generously donating time, but what do we do when we need extra? And maybe by next year, if we're just a little bit more adjusted with, COVID's here to stay. It's not going away. There's going to be more variants. It's like the flu. It's like your cold. It's never going to be here. It's here to stay. And it's just, how do we better orient ourselves to it, whatever. And hopefully, even if we're wearing masks next fall, let's say, if there's more of an opportunity to have on-site presentations, on-site, whatever, but we also have to look at all during the year, what are there opportunities to either work with the SHINE counselor or get other support to answer questions for individuals who just have the starting point questions about what's Medicare and what do I do? Because I realize it's nice to have all the information, but sometimes you just need that extra few, that ability to talk to somebody just to make sure you're in the right direction.
Okay. Holly, do you have something to add?
I do. So first off, I do want to just go on again what Virginia was just saying. So Nancy Schwartz, our Shine counselor, she's a Shrewsbury resident also. She has generously donated. She actually donated another day this week. And just so everybody's aware, I did meet with Massachusetts Council on Aging 2 weeks ago because this is not just a Shrewsbury problem. This is every town problem. Is
Right.
finding shine counselor shortages. And the training, I even started taking the training years ago, and it's not an easy training, and they don't have enough counselors. So I would just request that when people know that they're going to need information and things like that, to get the homework done before. Let's find out the phone numbers. Let's find out when people are available. Let's find out backup systems that might be able to answer questions, because there are people outside of, like, for instance, I had somebody come to see me a couple of weeks ago that was from Fallon. So there are different places that offer different kind of counseling, but they also offer their specific counseling. So so those opportunities are available to people. So if people have those concerns, they can call us and we can find out maybe who's the best person to speak with. But again, just keep in mind that this is a shortage everywhere. So the Massachusetts Council on Aging is looking to try to repair it.
Right. And just one comment I'll make, because it's really interesting. Usually all the different insurances like, Fallon and Blue Cross, and now, you may not be aware, but if you are aware, even UMass now has its own Medicare Advantage program, and you can't help escape it because they advertise it all the time on TV. So you can't miss it. But the whole idea, and that's why, it's going to be important to look at how we can get more Shine support, is the fact that they're really going to help you weed out and understand your finances, because that's really critical when you're looking at what you qualify for. Because sometimes there are programs that might make more sense for you depending on your economic status, but you really have to understand what that economic status is. So, and I wouldn't expect, I mean, Fallon can do that, but they may not necessarily like a Shine counselor would. But a lot to talk about, and now that we understand some of what the limitations have been, it makes, it's a starting point, and just to grow on, to build on. So, Miss Renee, I'll be contacting you so we can see what your schedule is like.
Virginia, I appreciate your input, but we need to move on.
Okay.
But I have two questions for Holly. One is, have we had any direction or feedback or help, something coming forth from the town manager's office? Guidance, since this, like you said, it's not just Shrewsbury, it's all of Massachusetts. Are we getting any guidance or help from them at all? Have you spoken to anyone?
So they are aware of the need of it, but just as I just made you informed, I've been keeping them informed as well. So it's really, I'm looking for the guidance from MCOA to see if there's anything that they'll be able to do to kind of help out centers. But really, it doesn't, I mean, it is part of my goal for the fiscal year 23, to make sure that we're educating younger seniors before retirement age. And as Virginia mentioned, there's a few obstacles right now: shortage, COVID, senior centers not being open, things like that. So it's kind of like it's a learning process. So it's a waiting game, because we have to wait to see what's actually available to us, because there's no other way to create it.
Holly, I have another question.
Mhm.
Based upon what you just said, it seems to me that what we need now is almost an information blitz. We need to put out more information so people know where they can go if they can't get the help at the senior center, or what's happening and what it's all about. I think we need to get more information out than anything else. Right now, that's all we can do.
Well,
And-
yeah.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
But that is, to me,
Virginia,
what
go ahead.
Renee and I are trying to look at, is how we can do that. I mean, Renee has a good background. I'm trying to get to the Shine status thing. So let's give it a try and start answering the questions that are coming up.
All right, I think we're done with that topic.
Yes.
Holly, you want to move on to the next, the budget and the capital request?
Yep. So the FY23 budget needs to be submitted by January 3rd to town manager's office. So Christine and I have been working diligently in the last week to come up with various budgets on how we like to spread it out. So as everybody knows, we have many, many accounts. So we're trying to come up with a couple of different ways of spending money so it's a little bit more fruitful, and making sure we're using the DOT money that's still sitting there, being careful without revolving funds, because as I made everybody aware when I sent the email out that we are not accepting fares until January 2023, which we all know will impact our revolving fund to some extent. So, we're just trying to make sure that the way we've divided up our money in the past from the general fund and really utilizing the rest of our accounts to the best of their ability. So we're still in the process, so I don't even have like a mock one to show you what we're working on. But if anybody has any suggestions or has any specific questions, I'm always happy to answer them. Feel free to. It's easier to show you the budgets on my computer than it would be to kind of talk to you, so I could show you where the figures are and things like that. So if anybody wants to actually come to the office and talk to Christine and I, if you have any questions, it's just really easier to do it one-to-one than it is to show it or talk about it over the phone. As far as capital requests, the only thing that's on the back of my mind right now is to have the senior center recarpeted. But I have talked to public facilities, and it may fall on their department and not on ours. So I am meeting with Kristen Loss this afternoon to see if she and Kevin would be okay for the public facilities to put that in as a capital under them. If that should happen, I don't have another capital request, because the capital requests actually have to be $20,000, I believe, or over. It might even be $25,000. And as you all know, last year we put into the security system, which is now in place. They're just kind of finishing up the, working on the doors and things like that. So hopefully by January 1st, all of the security cameras and the fob systems will be up and running. Does anybody have any questions on the budgets or the capital?
Jean?
It's really not about the 23 budget, but during our last meeting, you said you were going to request $500 a month from the town to support the grab and go program. Has that been achieved?
So that was part of the ARPA fund for the grants. I did submit that, and it was actually $1,500 a month. I did submit that to both Kevin and Kristen. And the way the ARPA funds are is that there's different levels. So level ones have already been announced. We are not on the level 1 ARPA funds that are being sent out to the town, but we will be looked at to do it on the second level if we should meet it. So I have those announcements have not yet been made.
Louise? Unmute, please.
Yes. Has there been any discussion about asking for a full-time volunteer coordinator so that Christine's job could be a full-time administrative assistant?
So I'm very glad that you asked that. So one of the models that Christine and I are working towards is, I know for Jean and Judy, you might not have seen it, but I had to come up with a 5-year staffing plan. And one of my goals is to retain employees that we don't want to lose for obvious reasons, and Christine being one of them. So we're trying to look at different models where Christine would actually either become an assistant director or an assistant department head, in which case we would create another office assistant, Louise, just like you just asked. However, it would be half office assistant, half transportation coordinator. And the reason why I would like to split those two responsibilities is that, if Cynthia should win the lottery tomorrow and she leaves us, there is not another person that could actually just jump right into her shoes. So I'm going to knock on wood that doesn't happen and she doesn't win the lottery. Don't let her know that. But I just want to be ready in case those kind of circumstances should happen. So one of the models will actually be requesting for another full-time person for the Council on Aging.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Have you talked about the FY22 programs yet? You can going on to that next.
Yep. So just a few things. So I already mentioned a little bit about the Holiday Lights tour. That was, like I said, last night was just a huge success. Really, really made my day a lot better. I'm gonna let Christine just give an update, if you don't mind, Christine, on the bear hunt.
Sure. So, excuse me. The bear hunt happened through the month of November. Just trying to find my numbers here. We actually had quite a few people participate. On average, we had about 42 people check in using the QR codes for each sign. So people that actually completed the challenge, we had 51 people or families. Some families did it as a group. Of those groups, 15 were Shrewsbury seniors, 31 were Shrewsbury residents 59 and under, and 5 were out of towners. So yesterday, oh, sorry, that's my dog. Yesterday we had the receptionists on duty pull names for the winners. So they were contacted yesterday. I didn't ask if they wanted to be publicly recognized, so I won't mention their names here. But it was a Shrewsbury senior that has come to the senior center before, took part in a few other activities. So that was really nice that we got to give them this lovely prize. And everybody was super appreciative of sorry, he's trying to get in my lap. Super appreciative of it. So our first place winners got a $50 Dean Park gift card, as well as a Christmas wreath, or holiday wreath, sorry. Our second place winners got a $25 gift card to Dean Park Pizza, as well as a bean bag toss game that was donated by Parks and Rec, and a holiday wreath as well. And then our third place winner also got a holiday wreath. So it's really a great thing. And all of the feedback that we got from the program was really positive. People were really, I don't want to say challenged to find them, but it was, some of them were a little harder to find than others. So they felt really accomplished. And I know a lot of families took part in it, and they got to discover parts of Shrewsbury that they probably wouldn't have otherwise gone to. So it was a really, really rewarding program.
Okay, Holly?
Yeah, I just want to mention that, so we've talked about in the past about how are we going to get people to come in the senior center. And during one of the bear hunts, a gentleman, probably I'm going to guess in his 30s, with his daughter who was, I believe, 6 years old. And she came in with binoculars around her neck because she was coming in to, get some gummy bears and things like that. So, we plan on doing this again next year, reusing the signs again and getting more people to come. But again, these outside of the box ideas show people that there is a senior center. People were coming in, people were going to the library. So it really did engage a lot of people outside of the, even the Shrewsbury senior community. So great feedback that we did. And Christine, you did an amazing job keeping it all together. So thank you.
Okay, let's
Yep. So Christine, I'm going to let you take this next one also for the volunteer appreciation for January, just so you can kind of say how it's working with the hours and stuff like that.
Sure. So our volunteer appreciation is something that we do for all of our volunteers that have worked 20 hours or more over the course of the year, of which we had quite a few. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I can pull it up. So we will be offering some kind of event. We're planning probably a lunch to invite all of the volunteers over to the senior center and get everybody together, as we haven't been able to do that over the past couple of years. And we will have goodies, of course, we love our goodies, to give out, and to really thank the volunteers for their time and their dedication to the senior center. There's a lot of programs that we wouldn't be able to offer without them. So we really want to thank everybody, including the volunteers that help us, the volunteers that are helping as part of the senior tax work off in other departments, Meals on Wheels. Obviously, all of you board members are more than welcome to attend, as you're volunteering your time here. And so we just want to really, really thank everybody. It's been a rough 2 years. So all of the help that we've received is really, really appreciated.
So I just want to mention, Christine, so we're planning, the date is being planned on January 24th. And the way it's happening is between Christine and both Donna Messier are going to be meeting with the receptionist volunteers earlier that morning from 10 to 11. And just kind of having the updated meetings that they like to do, making sure that, we're dotting I's and crossing T's with any concerns or anything like that. And then immediately following, starting at 11 o'clock, going right into the luncheon, which we're still planning on having Napoli's provide the food. So we're having Napoli's provide the food, and we may or may not have some entertainment for that time, but we will be sending out invitations. Each board member will receive them, as Christine mentioned, the Meals on Wheels, the receptionists, and the small home repair, all of them. So everybody will be getting that. So, start looking in your mailboxes, or you might see Christine running after you to give your invitation to you while you're at the center. Any questions on the volunteer recognition to either Christine or myself?
I don't see any other. Well, first of all, I don't see that listed on the agenda.
So that was part of the FY22 programs.
FY22 programs, okay.
Yep.
I say, any other programs for FY22, Christine? Can we move on to the next one, which is the transportation?
Yep. So right before we do, I just want to make a brief mention. So every year, and it's coming up, it's tax season time coming up. And just as we are short with SHINE counselors, it seems that AARP is also short with volunteers to assist with taxes this year. So I believe one of the things that we did last year was we were able to find a few local accountants that we could kind of share names with for people when they called to, help assist get their taxes done. Of course, there's most definitely a cost when it comes outside of the senior center. But I just wanted to make everybody aware that this could be yet again another struggle that we're faced with this tax season. But I'm trying desperately to kind of fix the problem before it starts. So if anybody hears of anything or has any suggestions, please.
I have something for you to think about, and that is, we have a similar situation as with SHINE, as you just said. However, we need to get the information out. First of all, that it's on a first come, first served basis. And secondly, you have to sign up for it if you want it. I think this needs to be publicized a little bit more and not wait until April the 1st or April the 14th to do this.
Right. Well, and so this is why one of the things I wanted to speak about this before the first of the year, because I'm already noticing that it may be an issue. In the past, it's been done at the senior center, but as we know, in the last 2 years, for obvious reasons, it hasn't been. So I'm hoping that this meeting, and when it's televised, will kind of get people start thinking about it now, that we may or may not even offer it. So people really have to be diligent and proactive to start thinking about how they're going to get those things done. And just as you said, Shashi, before the 11th hour. So absolutely.
Betsy had a question?
I actually, excuse me, I actually had a comment. Holly, at Quinsigamond Community College, we used to offer tax preparation services at no cost.
Mhm.
And it was done through one of the faculty members who was a CPA and a particular course the students were taking. So I'll get more information over the course of the next month and well, actually, I'll try and get the information even before that. And I'll email you if they're still offering that program and how it might work. And could they have somebody come over to the senior center for a period of time? But I'll see what I can find out.
That would be fantastic. The only thing that I know of right now is that Northborough Senior Center does have somebody, I guess, that is aligned to do taxes, but they are doing Northborough seniors first. So anybody watching this, just keep that in mind. So Betsy, I'll be eager to hear from you.
Yeah, I'll get the information as soon as I can.
Okay.
Virginia?
Nope. I'm all set.
Oh,
So Shashi, do you want me to go right into transportation?
yes, please.
Okay, so I don't have any updates other than what we put into the December newsletter, which everybody should have received by now. And I did email it, as I mentioned, to all of you for the rides that our transportation services and obviously Cynthia Willis has provided this year. And as you can see, just as you would expect, there's, fluctuations during the year. Some are slower in the summer and things like that. Just as a reminder to you all and to anybody else watching, that the fares, as I mentioned before, will not be collected until 2023. That's from the WRTA. Now, just to educate people a little bit, so we have 4 vans. 2 are WRTA owned, 2 are Council on Aging owned also. What we are deciding to do, because we don't want to make it confusing to the Shrewsbury seniors or residents that use our transportation, is we are going to follow the same guidelines that WRTA has put out, and we are not collecting fares at this time. Kevin and Kristen, town managers, are aware, and this is something that Christine and I are going to consider when we are doing our budget going forward for fiscal year 23. In addition to those transportations, as I've already mentioned, each staff member has been asked to provide 3 goals. And one of the goals that Cynthia created under transportation was to become more involved in the activities that happen at the senior center through the Council on Aging department. And one of those things that, as we've already mentioned a couple of times, that she started doing was the holiday tour of lights. And again, she's done an amazing job, and the van drivers should also be thanked for coming in on off hours and really kind of just making it a special opportunity. So very looking forward to seeing what Cynthia has in store for the rest of the year. So so that's where we are with transportation. I do have something to talk about new business, Shashi.
Go ahead.
If you're ready.
Yep.
So as everybody is well aware, we missed our 20th celebration. We missed our 21st celebration of the senior center. And every 3 weeks or so, I'm in a leadership meeting with other department heads, including Veteran Services, Parks and Recreation, Worcester Public Health Department, Parks and Recreation. And so one of the things that after going back and forth, talking with staff, talking with volunteers about like what can we do coming this spring to really celebrate, I decided, why limit it to one event? How about a whole week of events and get everybody kind of engaged at the same time? So asking Parks and Recreation to do something that involves seniors, the library. So the other department heads loved the idea. And the week that worked well for everybody to start planning was the week after April vacation, which would be April 25th through the 29th. And we all did say that it'd be fine if there was 2 events going on at the same time. This way there was something for everybody. So I really welcome any creative ideas that any of the board members might have for us to include during that week. And I also did mention it to the Friends group yesterday when I sat in with them, because obviously if we can get our groups, committees, departments, outside businesses, everybody part of this, I'd really love to come up with a nice, fun name to call this that 1 week that's happening. So think about that too. And nothing's off the books. So let me know your ideas.
Great. I know, does anybody have any other thing to talk about as far as new business goes, or Louise? Louise had a hand up?
Yes, I had an issue. Holly mentioned the Friends meeting yesterday afternoon. I mean, in morning, the Friends of the Senior Center. Many years ago, the Friends used to have a person come and sit on the board. And then a member of the board would sit on the Friends board as well. So they asked me yesterday if I would bring it up to the board and see again if you would like to start up that again and have a representative from the Friends come to our board. And I'm on the Friends board, and so I give them information, but have somebody come from them to our board. It doesn't have to be decided today, but it's an issue that they're trying to not start up the Friends again, but to get it a good boost. And we're on our way. It had gone down for a long time, and now it's coming back like it did back in the early 90s, 2000. It used to be a very viable group, and now and of course with the pandemic, it hasn't helped any. But so we're trying to bring it back the way it was in the olden days.
Holly, you had a question?
Actually, my recommendation to the board would be if this goes forward is that, and I don't have a problem with it, but we limit their speaking time to like 10 minutes, just to really, if they want to take that opportunity, kind of let people know what's going on. I would support that as long as it was controlled time.
Virginia?
And would it be possible for them to also let us know what the topic is that they want to present? This way, it could be fit. If since Holly or Christine is putting together an agenda, they would be able to fit it into the agenda.
Louise?
I don't think it's a particular agenda point. I think it's just telling about the Friends and what the Friends are doing. And they may not know ahead of time if something is coming up. They probably would mention the program or the meetings, and those special things, or the other things that happen every month. But it would just be a very brief presentation. I mean,
Louise?
10 minutes at the most.
Louise, I
Yes.
think we're getting into some legal issues here because they can attend the meeting as observers, but I'm not sure it'd be legal for them to participate in the discussion or as they would say in Massachusetts speak, the deliberations. What we're deciding and what we are talking about has to be only the board members and Holly should participate. I think that's the way the law is written. However, I think it's okay for them to spend some time to make a presentation, a 5-minute presentation at the very end, time permitting. I think that is acceptable. Or to ask that a particular topic be discussed at the next meeting or whatever. But I'm not sure that it would be the town bylaw would allow them to actually participate in the meeting. Louise wanted to respond, and Betsy had a question.
Yes. I sat as an observer for years and years and years, and had no official position on the COA except to make a presentation for the Friends, which is about 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't take long at all. Sometimes, depending on what's happening that month. So no, they have no intention of being an integral part of the COA board. That's not.
Yes, you should make that very clear. We can get the invite. Betsy?
I would agree with Sashi that I would question whether having them become a member of the board, or I suppose member would be a term that could be discussed, might not be appropriate. I'm wondering if the purpose of this would be for informational purposes. Could it be submitted in writing? Could they submit a blurb that we could address at our monthly meetings, as opposed to having somebody come and on a regular basis and be given time on our agenda? I mean, we're right up on the end of our timing every month. And to add extra time, I'm not sure there would be for that on a regular basis. But a written informational blurb, if you will, might serve the same purpose. Just a suggestion.
Well, Louise, you have any questions, any observations?
No,
on that?
I think it's just a point, that what people feel comfortable with. I know that, they're not asking to be a part of the board. They just want to be recognized as a part of the senior center, an important part. The Friends are a very important part of the senior center, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. So I think, giving them a chance to speak, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the most every month, and being recognized by the COA board would show the whomever is interested, that how important the Friends are to the whole senior center and to the Council on Aging.
Well, I can make a suggestion. I would make a suggestion that we take a vote on this. Jean, you have something to say? You could unmute first. Unmute first, Jean. Jean,
Sorry.
you got-
Are you okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perhaps it doesn't need to be on a regular monthly basis. Perhaps I would agree. I would like to know what the Friends are doing and the kinds of offerings they're getting out there to the seniors, but maybe it could be on an as needed basis. Whenever they wanted to share information, we could slot a 5 or 10 minute time slot in. And if there was nothing that needed to be shared that month, it wouldn't have to be. Doesn't need to be mandatory on a monthly basis.
Louise, as I recall, in the past, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we used to have somebody just come in and sit at the table and not really say much. Most of the time, they didn't talk at all. So if we could always do that, I mean,
Yeah.
yes, go ahead, Louise.
No, I think that's their goal, is to be not once in a while or not in writing, but to be a physical presence at as Shashi said, to sit there. And as I said, sometimes you had a lot to say, sometimes you didn't have anything to say or very little to say. It just depended. But to skip months and things, it doesn't give, to me, what they presented to me yesterday and asked me to present is if they could come every month. And so that's what I'm presenting to you.
Yes, perhaps we should take a vote on this, that a member of the Friends be invited as an observer and to present whatever you want to call it, the activities, a summary of the activities of the Friends during the past month, or something like that. And limit it exactly as to what their participation would be. Virginia wants to say something.
Just really quickly, and I'm just going to echo what Betsy said. There are times, and I think Holly and Christine would be better equipped to address this because they're setting up the agenda, that it might be valuable to have, members of to have someone from the Friends there, but there may not be an opportunity for them to say something every month if we're running up against the clock because we have so much to discuss. So I think, it's great to have them there because certainly they are supporting efforts of the senior center. So that's valuable, that they should be participating and joining in. But I think it would have to be a critical assessment each month. Is there time for them to say more than hello or as someone suggested, send something over as a communication. This way, if there's no time to speak, they've at least had an opportunity to share information.
Holly?
Yeah, and I just want to let everybody know that, like, for instance, I do let them have a whole page in the newsletter for them to show the work that they're doing or the events that are going on. And I also, when they meet, just as I did yesterday, Louise, when you guys come to the senior center to meet, I'm in there myself for 20 minutes, going over the programs that I've got going on, and then hearing the things that you've got going on too. So I would say, if there was a big event that they wanted to talk outside of what I know, I would say let's put them on the agenda. But I do agree that, with both what, Betsy and Virginia said, that they can certainly give us their information and we can share it in all kinds of different ways, but this might not be the most appropriate platform. Not on a monthly basis.
Louise, would it be possible for you to be the intermediary somehow and let us know, or let Christine know, if we need a time slot available for them?
I don't know. I think that we're losing sight of the reason why they're going to be there. And it's to give them credibility, I guess is the word. I don't know. And that we think that it's an important group that we rely on a lot of times. And I think that's what the presence there would indicate to other people.
So
And if
the
we
only way
can't
we
give
can
them
do
five-
that is if we invite them,
And
let's
if we
take a
can't
vote
give them
and say,
if we can't give them 5 minutes, then I think there's something wrong. Because if we go to them and ask for money, and ask for them to do things, then maybe they don't have time for us. We're trying to create an atmosphere of cooperation and the need for each other. And that's why they wanted me to present to you. Like it used to be. It used to be that way.
yes.
And I would like to see it get back to that way again.
Louise, your point is well taken. I agree. I think we should include them as observers to sit in on the meetings, just to establish their presence. People know that they're an important part of what goes on at the senior center. Yes, I agree. Unless somebody are we have a consensus on that, or do we need to vote on that? Anybody has any observations? Ollie?
Well, I do have a question. So I completely understand the support that Louise wants to give the Friends, but at the same time, Louise is a member of the Friends. So there is a member part of the Council on Aging. And I do just want to reiterate the work that Christine and I and the rest of the staff do quite frequently is, we do send out the news flashes. We do include them in our newsletter. We do support them, with the needs that they have when they come inside. So I think we have to, I really, listening to Betsy, I really strongly agree that we have to be careful with our time, because here it is as 10:28 and I still have one more thing that I need to talk about. So I'm just not sure that it's always going to be feasible.
Judy, you had something to say? No, I had somebody else had her hand raised just now.
No, it wasn't me.
Jean?
I did, and I wouldn't object to the presence at a board meeting, but not so that they were scheduled to be on the agenda every month. That perhaps that we could have an observer there, and if there is something that they needed to share, then we could know that ahead of time and put them into a time slot on the agenda. But it doesn't have to be on a regular basis, even if they're there as an observer every month.
I'm kind of in a stalemate as to how we're going to proceed here. Betsy, you had something to say?
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion that Jean just offered. If they need to have something particular to address, they can let Holly know in advance and put it on the agenda. And otherwise they would, I suppose if you want them there, I still think it can be done in writing, but I think letting Holly know in advance that they need time on a particular agenda as opposed to expecting a monthly report would be my suggestion.
So would someone make a motion that we invite them as observers to our meetings? Would someone like to do that? No, nobody wants to invite them as regular observers. Judy, what would you like to do?
I would make a motion that we invite the friends
As observers only.
as observers to our meetings.
Jean?
But if it, well, we need to second that. I'll second the motion for purposes of discussion. But if we present the motion in that way, that doesn't allow them the opportunity to give us a verbal report on anything that they feel is important.
That's true. However, what is included on the agenda, any member, anybody, any senior can say, I need to have this discussed by the board. They can do that. So there's no reason why, like I think Betsy or somebody said before, there's no reason why they could not submit their request earlier.
Okay.
A particular item should be discussed. So now that a motion has been made and it's seconded, we'll now put it to vote that we invite a member of the Friends of the Shrewsbury Senior Center to be present as an observer only, present as an observer at the meeting. We'll put that to a vote. Louise?
Am I not correct that any citizen from Shrewsbury can come in and be an observer for our meeting?
I'm sorry?
It's an open meeting.
That's right. But yes.
I mean, so why do we need to differentiate? They can come in anytime they want to.
Well, I'm not sure about the legal aspects of it, because if the statement that I'm required to read says specifically that, if I recall correctly, it's no person in attendance of members of the public will be permitted. That is the direction from the town. That's the only reason we would need somebody. We would need to put it to a vote. That's if you look at the agenda, the very first paragraph that I'm required, no in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. That is the direction from the town.
Shashi, if I may.
Go ahead.
I just also want to say that, again, I think we're losing sight in this a little bit, because we're having this discussion with both a board member and a Friends member here. So just as Louise or as Betsy mentioned, and I think Jean mentioned, I think having something in writing, and perhaps the board can decide, like if we know things in advance, the board can decide if we have questions and are seeking more information on specific topics.
Louise?
I just, I would hope that every one of us is a member of the Friends. $10 a year. And I hope that you look in your newsletter, look at the form and send it in and join the Friends. That's what we need most of all. I call the question.
So I take it we do not need to vote on this. So I think, Judy, you want to withdraw your proposal?
Yes, motion is withdrawn.
If there are no other well, as far as this Friends issue is concerned, we have to come to some kind of a consensus as to how we'd like to proceed. Anybody has any? I think Betsy has something to say.
I was going to say a minute ago, before we before we go further with this discussion, can Holly or can you, Shashi, check with the town, given what you just read, Shashi? Can you check with the town and see what we can and cannot do before we continue going on and on and on? It's already 10:35, and I think
That's a good point. Yes, we need to investigate that. I'll probably have to send an email to, or a question to Kristen or somebody like that to find out, to get a reading on whether we are permitted to invite a non-member to attend the meeting. Yeah, I will do that and we'll go from there. So I do not have, Holly?
I got one thing I just want to say before we adjourn and say happy holidays. I just want to let the board know that the Board of Selectmen approved for the town departments for December 23rd to be a half day. So we'll be closing the senior center at noon, which means we will only be offering Meals on Wheels the morning of the 23rd. We will not be offering grab and go or congregate on that day. That's all I have.
Louise?
I just want to say, I may not be here for the next meeting. I want to be in Florida, but I'll be on the Gulf Coast. It's going to be 8 o'clock down there, so I'm not sure. I'll try to get up early and greet you all from Florida, but in
Great.
the meantime, have very happy holiday season. It's going to be wonderful. Thank you.
Judy?
Yeah, I'm not going to be available for the next meeting. I've got a medical appointment in Boston. So with two of us out, or potentially out, thought I'd bring it up.
1, 2, 3. I think it may be difficult to have a meeting in January.
Well, there'll be 4 actually. Virginia's with us.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if we make
There'll be 4 of us.
if we make the quorum, we have it.
What I can do is I
try
can
to
send out a reminder. And just because right now it's supposed to be on January 5th. And for those that aren't able to attend, we can always, like, something similar that we do to the summer when we don't meet in August. If January is ending up being a busy month, we can subside, but I can keep sending the updates. So for now, let's just keep it January 5th. But if people find that there's conflict, we'll take it from there.
Okay.
Wait, I have it down as January 12th.
I'm sorry, Judy?
Oh, it is.
I take it back. I have it down as January 12th. It's the 5th?
No, you're right.
Sorry.
No, you're right. It is the 12th.
Okay.
My-
The 12th I can't make it. The 5th I could have. Okay. Sorry.
I apologize too. I was looking at the wrong date.
Will someone make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Happy
Judy?
holidays, everybody.
Okay.
Judy?
Happy holidays.
Yes, you
Oh,
support
yes.
them? Let's see. Virginia?
Yes.
Jean? Jean, yes, no? Unmute the phone, unmute the computer and say yes.
Yes.
Louise?
Yes.
Betsy?
Yes.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. The meeting is
Thank
Thank
adjourned.
you.
Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.